Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. This video is about the effect of the attractive island princess in a cartoon and in reality versus the effect of the handsome island prince in a cartoon and in reality. It's to help you understand why I'm right. So I'm not exactly the same as what comes to mind when you think of an African American or when you think of an African or a mulatto. So even though Bob Marley was mulatto and there's some parallels there and some similarities, I decided to kind of use this point of reference and then we'll go from there. Point number 1. The spirit of the most racist and assertive white people, okay, Jews and LGBT people, come to mind immediately when I start talking about this issue. Immediately, I can sort of feel it. I can feel the resentment of the state. I can feel the resentment of those people who have their communities and the country in a stranglehold. It's like, Joe Biden said, where he said the spirit of Confederate soldiers, right? They're old, demons in new outfits, right? And they're haunting black people in America. The spirit of the most racist and assertive white Jews and LGBT people are very much at odds with me, but I'm trampling them because I'm in God's spirit. That's point number 1. Point number 2. A lot of brown-skinned people are terrorized into silence. So again, point number 1, the spirit of these racist groups are trying to stop this speech, are trying to stop people from solving this problem, the spirits and the people who could carry those spirits. And point number 2 is a lot of brown-skinned people are terrorized into silence, especially on these romantic issues. It's kind of neo-Roman society. It's called romantic, It's connected to psychotic and other tick words. Semantic, right? They don't want you to describe things in a certain way that makes it clear. Point number 3. The Klan was and is a terrorist organization, and they're not the only group. There are countless groups that have shared cultural values with the Ku Klux Klan, especially on the issue of interracial dating and who gets the attractive female, what have you. They'll say things like it's the white man's land, white women will call them dicks, and so on and so forth. Point number 4. So, you got to understand my situation. As the tall, dark, and handsome top martial artist ever possible. I say this to be honest and not out of cockiness or something. Okay? When you're the tall, dark, and handsome top martial artist ever possible, for society to try to get you to settle communicates that society is very sick. Very, very, very sick and disturbed. They don't understand character. They don't understand the beauty that resonates from within. They don't understand God. They don't understand life. Even the atheist should know that I'm right about this. So to try to get me to settle is wrong. Now, you can disagree with me. You can disagree with me in a way that's extreme and still collaborate with me on this issue. When it comes to this point, you can disagree about that point. I think it's stupid to disagree. I think it's a very central issue because the highest form of injustice is for the potential wives, the suitable helpers, the potential suitable wives and helpers of the top martial artist ever possible to be denied to him out of the rape-called energies and intentions of society, especially the most racist and assertive and aggressive of the white, Jewish, and LGBT communities. Why? Because they're the people who have a lot of influence in this society. Other groups don't have that much influence in this society. Some of them will pretend that they do, and they're in cahoots, right? They're colluding with these other groups, okay? And everyone knows it's not some grandiose conspiracy theory. Everyone knows that's how it is, That's why they're called token minorities, what have you. But those groups are the main people who make it so things are this way. The main urban and cultural designers and developers and social engineers. Point number 5. if you were to limit it to just the cartoon person, okay, and the real life version of someone who's nice, it is infinitely worse to do the righteous person wrong than someone who is handsome and nice wrong. It is infinitely worse to do the top martial artist wrong than somebody who is, another person, in this case, another brown-skinned person wrong. Okay. Because I'm owed by society in terms of principle, moral principle. Not mere social norms. It's stupid to live by those scales. Not mere, concrete jungle, white man system, Babylon system, lunacy. But by universal and morally precise wisdom and logical truths that show us that I'm owed by society better than how I'm being treated. I am logically the most desirable person. So when we look at the effect of an attractive island princess in a cartoon where all these people, especially white people, like, wow, she's exotic, she's attractive, wow. And we think about, the white women looking at the handsome island prince, and they're like, yeah, so what? He's a poor minority. He can't afford me. Why is that? Well, one, because males are more inclined to be romantic than females. They kind of have expectations. Their hands down. They want to be approached by someone who sweeps them off their feet and gives them all kinds of money and buys them things and all this. That's generally how it goes when we're talking about attractive women especially. Then there's some women who will just settle for anything because they're desperate. And there's few other types. That's the overwhelmingly common problem. That is the general rule of thumb, and overwhelmingly so. The vast majority of them, that's how they think. So again, I asked you, especially if you're white and you're in denial about this, white denial when it comes to romance is the most intense. I ask you, why is it that the island princess is so sought after? The idea of a beautiful island princess is so sought after by the races, by the males of the races, but her twin brother, so to speak, the handsome island prince, is hardly sought after by the women of the races. Is it just men are far more virtuous than women, and then women are just gold diggers? Because to want someone because they're beautiful is like wanting a flower because they're beautiful. Okay? You don't have to be a shallow kind of pervert to want an attractive woman. But to look at things in terms of money and social norms makes you a pitiful abomination. And believe it or not, I blame other males first and foremost for females' attitudes. They're very suggestible. They don't want to admit that males outsmart them all day, every day. It's the general rule of thumb. They might be good at their jobs, but when it comes to romance, when it comes to life direction, leadership, maneuvering in terms of social, spiritual, moral leadership, when it comes to these wolves in sheep's clothes misleading them in churches, males are outsmarting them all day, every day. Is this really the society you want? Well, now that there's no hope for the future because of how far you went with tech, breeding, cheating, and generational ill-gotten gains, do you want it to end with the top martial artist, the most handsome and righteous person that ever lived, to be shunned because your races and your groups and your religions and your martial arts schools and your governments and on and on and on, they're jealous and they don't want to admit that I'm universally greater than they are? And I say this out of truth, no cockiness, no arrogance. I humble myself before God as I say this. God approves of this message because it's true, it's pure, the motives are sound. The Lord weighs the motives, and the way is the truth, and to live a righteous life. I tell you, all you attractive females should never, ever, ever have dated the neo-colonial worm. No matter how handsome he tries to be, no matter how much he sabotages other people, how much money he offers you, these things are, what they're doing is wrong. You should have never betrayed me for those dogs. And that is key in why, after my flesh is gone, as is died, that the world is sealed in hell, out of heaven, and then when people die, they go to the worst parts of hell. That romantic injustice is extreme. God is love. God is not gold digging or materialism or social norm fanaticism. God is love, and you have betrayed me as a group.